Hey everybody, welcome to the Token Nerd Podcast, where we ramble on about geeky things ranging from Batman to pop figures to Star Wars. I'm Anthony Pettiford.
And I'm Travis Lynkins.
All right, we're back for episode 4. Little would you guys know, it took us 45 minutes to get this podcast ready.
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties. Thanks a lot, GarageBand. Anyway, so we're going to get started with some topics this week. The first thing I want to talk about is something that we didn't talk about, it came out 2 weeks ago, and that was most of our shows had gone into the mid-season break, and obviously 2 weeks ago they released sizzle reels for like Arrow, Flash, all those other series that were going to come back. The one that really caught my eye though was the Star Wars Rebels trailer, and so we're all still in the Star Wars hype. And I was kind of afraid that after Star Wars, The Force Awakens, we'd kind of lose the momentum of all our Star Wars franchises, especially Rebels, which is incredible if you haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
And yes, this podcast will include a few spoilers, so just to be aware of that. But anyway, so the sizzle reel is for the second half of Rebel season 2, and it blew. I showed it to you before we started recording.
Yeah, the drama really seems amped up too.
Yeah, it's the Empire Strikes Back of the series.
I mean, it really seems like it's taken a darker tone.
Yeah,
it really does.
But we get to see Princess Leia, who's voiced by Julie Dolan, I believe. She also voiced her in Star Wars Uprising, the other game. But from what I can tell, I know as of right now, because we're recording on Wednesday night, there's an episode getting ready to start in like an hour. Episode 2 of season 2 gets ready to start in an hour. But last week was the episode that actually introduced Princess Leia.
Okay.
Which will be a young 15-year-old Princess Leia.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that dynamic because, usually it's Leia Luke, Leia Han, and now we're going to see Leia with another character.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting take that we really haven't seen.
But it's also, we got to... And I haven't been able to watch the episode yet. I haven't recorded. I just have been so busy lately. But from what I can tell, it's going to be what's her motivation? What got her into the rebellion? Because we know she was there. We know her. We know what's her dad's name? It's Organa, but it's Bale. I think it's Bale.
No, that's not it.
It's either Organa. But yeah, he was part of the rebellion, and then
Well, we caught a little bit in Lost Stars. If you've read that, I mean, you catch a little bit of that. Just a little bit of a piece of it where they talk about Leia and kind of like the shock that she is actually involved in the Rebel, with the Rebel Alliance. So it's just interesting to see like her backstory because it's just kind of like in Star Wars: New Hope. She comes off as kind of like she's been doing this a while, season vet kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I'm guessing, we'll kind of see like a younger, more inexperienced Leia with this.
Yeah. So what I could tell so far, it was awesome. I heard a lot of criticisms for the way Julie voiced her because Princess Leia didn't have a girly voice. She had a very matter of fact. I know it's not a type of voice, but
it's a strong voice.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, Princess Leia was in it. That looked awesome. And then we saw for those of you who read not Revenge of the Sith, Lords of the Sith.
Yes.
It was one of the
more recent
canon novels. Yeah. It introduces Cam Syndulla, who is, if you watch the show, Hera, her father. And you also find out that he kind of basically started the rebellion against the Empire. Like him and these Trillics were you got to read the book. It's awesome. It shows a lot about Vader and the Emperor being hunted down by these Trillics who are freedom fighters, which will then basically spark what will become the rebellion.
Oh.
So that's really cool.
I haven't got into that one yet, but it sounds very interesting.
It was good. A lot of people I talked about the canon novels, they always rank Lords of the Sith being number 1 and then Lost Stars being number 2. For me, it's reversed. I think Lost Stars was the best, followed by Lords of the Sith. Anyway, so the other thing I thought was awesome was that there's going to be a lot more Vader. And when I say a lot more Vader, it might be just one episode and it's just packed with Vader in it. But we also see what looks to be like Jedi acolytes. We see these people in white suits, and there's a point where Kane's talking to one. It's like a dojo, and you see the Jedi logo.
And then they have the helmets.
They have helmets, and then they have white or yellow lightsabers. So I don't know if that's where maybe Ahsoka disappeared to after she left the temple in Clone Wars. I'm really excited to find out what that is because they just expanded this universe, saying, like, to me, Rebels made just like Lost Stars, it made the Star Wars franchise so much more grand.
Yeah.
Even when I look back and I'm like, I see Luke, and I'm excited to see Luke in the new movies, but I feel like Ezra was the chosen one, just because and obviously it's a newer story and you can
Yeah.
follow him and as he progresses faster. I liked his story more than I liked Luke's.
Well, yeah, I mean, you get a lot more details in the TV show,
Yeah,
though.
and
I
this
mean,
isn't
yeah,
a Luke bashing system,
yeah,
but I definitely liked it, and he's getting stronger. I eventually think he's going to become a Sith or a
yeah,
Inquisitor. Inquisitor is my favorite addition to the Star Wars
yeah.
mythos. But anyway,
But,
we see a lot more Vader.
well,
We
and
sorry,
the big thing that looks like it's building up to is the standoff
yeah.
between Master and prior Padawan.
I was gonna get to that, but like I said, a lot more Vader. Yoda will be actually in this.
Yes,
We
you,
watched that
you
one
actually see
episode.
him.
Yeah,
Yep.
we heard his voice and it was cool. I didn't like the way he looked.
Yeah, he looks a
I
little
liked the
different.
way he was shaped in the Clone Wars. I like their
Yeah.
blocky looks. Uh, but the voice, I think it's shoot, not I want to say Lucius Fox.
It's
It's
Lucius
something
Fox.
Fox. But anyway, the guy who voices him was also the guy who voiced him in Clone Wars.
Okay.
And then, so like I said, we see Jedi acolytes, and like you said, the big stand that we've been waiting
Yeah.
for since the season finale of season one, when we found out Ahsoka was the informant for the rebels, and it's going to be her fighting Vader. And there's a scene where you see her watching a holo of Anakin, either
Yeah.
training or fighting the Clone Wars, and she's talking to Ezra and says, "Oh, this is my master.
Yep.
You should have seen him in person." And then they're meditating, and you hear Anakin's voice,
Yep.
and it's like, "Ahsoka, why did you leave?" And it's like, "You don't know what I've become."
Yep.
And either that's
And lightsabers go.
yeah, and then lightsabers going. She carries a white lightsaber, and in my mind, we're gonna have a Star Wars focus. I want to have a focus where we like that's all we talk about is the mythos starting from like episode one all the way to A New Hope, including
Yep.
like the books and stuff like that, and how it fits in. But for me, Ahsoka is the so if we're looking right now, we're saying the strongest Jedi in the galaxy at this point is Obi-Wan or Vader.
Yep.
Then it has to be Obi-Wan's out there, but I think Ahsoka might be better than Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan's gotten old and soft,
Yeah.
and Ahsoka's probably still
Yeah.
still young and
'Cause
going at it.
how many years does Rebel take place approximately before
5 years before
New Hope?
New Hope, yeah.
Yeah. So Obi-Wan's old at that point.
Yeah. But no, it's gonna bum me out that Ahsoka's gonna die because she has to die.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
what we
well,
assume,
whoa,
unless they
wait,
all
wait.
go into hiding.
Let's. Well, yeah. Let's take it back to this Jedi ranking. I mean,
Okay.
Yoda's still there.
Oh, that's right.
You
Yoda's.
forgot Yoda.
Uh,
I mean, he may be feeble, but he's still one of the strongest Jedi.
yeah. I'm not gonna take that away from him. I'm just saying, 1,000 years really gonna mess with you.
He's only 900.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, how offensive am I? No, for me, I just think Ahsoka is one of the stronger Jedi, and I feel like she's going to lose to Vader
Yeah.
because of feelings.
Yeah, I
But-
could see that because she still sees him as Anakin.
Yeah.
She doesn't see him as the twisted, more robot than man.
I forget where I heard this from. I hadn't mentioned to you yet. Someone had pointed out that if you watch the mythos of Star Wars, the Jedi always lie. Jedi lie and Jedi mislead, where the Sith always tell you straight up what's happening. Like aside from Palpatine pretending to be the not being the Emperor or Sidious, like your father was killed by Vader. Oh,
Well,
to a person like
wait. It's a different point of view.
see, I hate that. No, but what I mean is
The universe deals with different points of view.
yeah, but you can see like Dooku. Dooku says, "Hey, I'm going to kill Sidious. Join me. Like I have a goal. There's a plan set out.
Yeah.
Join me, Obi-Wan." And if they had joined Dooku, I guarantee they would have won the war. They would have turned it on Palpatine.
Yeah.
But someone had just pointed out, and it's like all the times that the Jedi had lied or misled people or kept something from someone, and the idea of you can't love, you can't have attachments, and I feel like that's what drove even Vader to being crazy, but it wouldn't have happened if Jedi were allowed to love or make attachments.
Yeah. But it's dealing with that sacrifice. How do you sacrifice yourself for the greater good?
Mhm.
That's kind of where that all kind of comes from. So I mean, I don't know the mythos back to like the samurai, but I know a lot of samurai stuff is what inspired Jedi mythos.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering if that's something from there.
Yeah,
I personally don't know. If you do know, let us know in the notes.
yeah. Shoot us an email, comment in the sections down below.
Yep.
Tweet at us at at token underscore nerd.
Yes.
But anyway, let's just move on. So overall, I'm really excited. I'm kind of excited. I'll get back in and I'll probably binge watch a couple episodes of Rebels. That's what I really wanted to do because that's what we did when we watched the first season. We just binge watched
As
most
much as we could.
as much as we could, as long as we could stay conscious. So yeah, but overall, I'm highly excited. I'm really excited to see this one. I know they got green lighted for season 3
Oh,
uh,
or
for Rebels.
oh, you mean
So
they got the green light?
what is it? Green
You
lighted?
said the Green Lantern.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, I was like, did they get a new Green Lantern show? Oh,
Green Lanterns are actually part of the Star Wars universe. They're
well, I mean,
another
they're owned by the
galaxy,
same
not
company.
so far away.
Oh no, wait, no, they're not.
All
Soon
right.
to be.
Yeah. But speaking of Green Lantern, let's move on to some DC news. As we all know, there's a little movie coming out called Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice,
Never heard of
and
it.
there is a magazine called Empire. Empire has a habit of releasing some really badass photos and set pieces and
Yep.
even posters. Well, my friend, they have released several photos and they were all bland. There's some of Superman like flying, him shooting heat vision. There's a really cool one of Batman in the iron suit looking down, and then there's this one of Batman in his nightmare suit or nightmare Batman look.
Yep.
And as we've been told and kind of pieced together, this is going to be obviously a nightmare or a vision of either
Yeah.
Batman or Wonder Woman. I've heard different theories about that, but it's him looking into this wasteland,
Yep.
and burnt or carved in the ground is the Omega symbol. And the Omega symbol is the symbol for Darkseid.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. That just blew my mind. We knew it was going to come.
Yeah.
We knew Darkseid would have to show up eventually.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to be this soon, but we did see in the second trailer. It was the second trailer. We see Batman fighting the guards with the Superman logos, and then all of a sudden you see like a boom tube in the background with parademons flying out, or what we all assumed, and now we know for a fact they're going to be parademons.
Yeah.
It looks incredible, and so the idea that, and then if you look in the background of the photo, because I've seen somewhere it was zoomed in on just the Omega symbol. If you look back, there are fire pits coming out of the ground, which is what Apocalypse has, and that's what Darkseid would do. He'd go to the planets, and they'd have these cores and or hell spores, and they would shoot basically the flames off, and they'd use the core. I believe that's how it happened. I don't know the anatomy of.
I kind of wonder if this is like I'm seeing the future, or I'm seeing a possible future.
I think it's Wonder Woman. Well, see, I believe it's. I'm not really. If Addison was here, he'd know. Either it's in. Is Wonder Woman not Greek? She's Roman. Roman Greek mythology. I think it's Greek mythology. That Mars or Ares, his symbol is the Omega symbol. I thought, and he's the god of war.
Okay.
Which would make sense that we'd see that, but
makes
I'm
sense.
almost 100% sure that's Darkseid.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think Wonder Woman is having a vision, and it'll be Wonder Woman either has this dream or some kind of prophet tells her, hey, if you need to go intervene, because that'll be cool if that's how they introduce Wonder Woman, is that she has to come in and stop these two male idiots from punching each other, because their little war against each other is going to be what destroys the planet.
Yeah.
And then she is going to be what brings them together, and because she's going to be 500 or 5,000 years old at this movie. So, I mean, you saw the images. What do you think?
I mean, it's a very cool image. It's a very cool landscape. Gives you kind of like this real what's going on. Again, I don't know a lot about the movie, so when you talk to me, I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds cool. But it's a very creates more questions for me, like, hey, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, if this is a vision or a premonition or something like that, it's a very dark. Like maybe this is where it's going. We're going to get real dark real quick.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the world's going to end.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's in rubble. It looks worse than Metropolis did at the end of Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Which will prove Superman has destroyed the planet twice. Not the planet. So I'll reference back when I was dating a girl back when Man of Steel came out, and I took her to see it. And I remember at the end of that movie, she went after Lois Lane comes and hugs me, like, "You did it, you saved us." And it was like, yeah, all three of you, because he destroyed everything. And if Addison was here, which he's going to be on the podcast eventually, me and him, we can't watch that movie together or talk about it because we will. It turns into this like, it turns into a huge fight, and it starts with like a ha ha, but
Yeah.
then turns to like pushing, hitting, yelling, and then storming away.
So don't invite him over to watch it,
No,
especially if his brother's going to be there.
exactly. But no, this will be hitting shelves on February 28th, and then the big movie releases March 25th, which is 2 months away.
Yeah, I was like, it's not that far.
No, I mean, I remember when they announced Ben Affleck, and I was like, I can't wait till 2015 before they moved it.
Yeah.
But it's here.
It seemed like it was so far away. I mean, it seemed like they just wrapped up the last three Batmans, and hey, there's a new Batman. Hey, we're gonna take off and make this Justice League thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then now we're here,
Yeah.
and it's exciting to see what they're gonna do with it because everything really hinges on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be kind of interesting to see how well it does. I really don't think we're going to be in a Terminator situation where
No.
it gets canceled, but but hopefully everything goes well. And
Oh, it's going to. It's going to be gold. I want to point out, yes, we're talking about the Empire magazine, but over the weekend, weekend, we had two trailers
Yep.
that hit.
Yep.
One trailer was for Superman, and it was the one that we've seen of him talking to Batman, saying, "Next time they put the light in the sky, don't go to it. The
Yep.
Bat's dead, bury it." And then they released the Batman trailer with brand new footage of Bruce Wayne, Ben Affleck, talking to Alfred,
Yep.
Scar. that's what Jeremy Irons.
Yep.
I'll just know him as Scar forever. And this sold me, and I'm so excited for a Batman movie where it's just pissed off middle-aged Batman because he looks at him and he's like, he's not our enemy. He says, if there is even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we must take that as an absolute, uh, an absolute. I should have had it written down to quote it. But I mean, it was incredible. Like Ben Affleck is bringing it, and suck at everyone who said that Ben Affleck was going to ruin this movie because he's making this gold.
Yeah,
and I'm so excited.
I think he is the perfect person for this age group as well, like for the age of Batman.
For the age of Batman, I think in general.
Yeah.
Yes, he had to grow to get to this point. I mean, but he also knows the character. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, you don't want to pick a fan of something to portray something," but he was, and you can tell he brings it. He's it's not like Christian Bale's Batman, where it was like, well, I want it to be different than.
It was like his version of Batman.
Yeah.
Well, his version of Bruce Wayne, who occasionally plays Batman.
Yeah. Well, for me, the Batman that was portrayed in the Nolan movies was a was a cop in a suit. Batman to me should always be a firefighter. Firefighters are never going to destroy fire.
Yeah.
Like they just stop it when they can. That's what Batman does. He puts on the suit, puts out the fire, goes home, goes back out, does the same thing, and the fire never ends. But you have to try your best. That's how I see it. But they made it. I didn't. I mean, I liked the Nolan movies, but they weren't my favorites.
Yeah.
And
it just wasn't
Christian
the
Bale
Batman
was my
you were
favorite.
looking for.
He wasn't the Batman that I needed, nor the one the world wanted. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna toss it over to you. That's it for the news that I have.
Okay. Well, this week, past Sunday, after some NFL football, the X-Files premiered.
Ah.
Yes, it's back. The critics didn't seem to like it. If you looked at a lot of the reviews beforehand,
I haven't read any reviews.
Yeah. A lot of them were saying it was tired. It kind of came off boring or whatever. But I think all those people forgot the X-Files.
Yeah.
I mean, the conspiracy and the aliens, a lot of times it was kind of rehashing stuff. It was kind of like this conspiracy, you don't really get a lot of info out of it. And the episode ends and you didn't really learn anything. So that is the X-Files. So if you did watch the X-Files, as I did, it was more of the same. It was right up there again. I mean, it was nice to revisit these characters, get back in the story. And I mean, it hit the ground running with it's kind of like a flashback /
Really?
Yeah, well, so the conspiracy that we thought it was all along and that Mulder and Scully were kind of chasing the whole time, maybe that wasn't true. So maybe there's a new conspiracy.
Mhm.
So they, if you listen to our prior episodes, I may have said I thought this was going to be Monster of the Week,
Mhm.
right? No, they're changing the
That was
conspiracy.
my next question.
Yeah, so it seems like they're building on the conspiracy that existed in the prior, the prior 8 or 9 seasons.
And it's gonna be 6 episodes, right?
Yes, 6 episodes, two of which have already
Two of
aired
which have already aired.
because
So,
they did Sunday and then Monday.
oh,
So
Monday.
Sunday's episode was very much adding to the overall conspiracy, kind of bringing the characters back. They did an awesome job for anybody who either A, hadn't watched the series,
Mhm.
or B, hadn't watched it since it went off in the early 2000s. They kind of like introduced Mulder. He's kind of like talking about his character, talking about what he did in the X Files, talking about the conspiracy, all those things.
Mhm.
And it was like a good, quick summary with some awesome pictures and kind of showing how everything kind of played out. Um, and then it just kind of rolls, hits the ground running. I mean, the FBI, apparently there's something going on again. They're looking for. There's a guy that's a newscaster that's actually trying to reveal conspiracies on the internet/TV. So he's looking for Mulder, brings him in. Well, he talks to Skinner, the boss, who reaches out to Scully, who's the only person that knows how to get a hold of Mulder, of course.
Like a Bill
So,
Murray, like
yeah.
trying to get a hold
Well,
of
I
him.
mean, when you're wanted by like all these random conspiracy places and everything, you got to
That's
go into
true.
hiding.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, introduces a character that was in the X Files as a child. Now she's grown up. Again, trying to say there's alien abductions. Obviously, somebody's trying to stop that. So when the newscaster's trying to reveal this stuff, boom, she comes on TV, refutes everything, and then into the episode, you see a spacecraft.
Oh.
By the way, spoilers.
Mhm.
So it kind of kicked it off, really got it going, and then we roll into episode 2, which is it's a kind of Monster of the Week episode, but there is conspiracy being added to it in as well.
So
So
there
you're
is an overlining plot
yeah,
in
there's a
every episode.
yeah.
Okay.
So the so far everything's kind of jiving together. I would imagine that now that I'm watching, it makes more sense. Since there's only 6 episodes,
Hmm.
if they want to do anything conspiracy related, they're going to have to hit the ground running here
Yeah.
because
Running out of
yeah,
time.
you're going to run out of time. So the second one deals with what was called Founder's Mutation. So essentially, what the idea behind this is that there is always like the first thing that gets this mutation. So
Hmm.
like that's how things evolve, right? So it's kind of tying to the conspiracy in a way that you have in the past series there was all these women that were pregnant and then the babies were being taken away by aliens or the government conspiracy, whatever you choose to believe in the series. Um, but when the babies get took away, you never knew what happened. So this all ties back to Mulder and Scully's child that was taken away or given up for an adoption. Sorry, and gets Scully and Mulder wonder where he is. That whole 9 yards. But in the meantime, we learn more about these kids that have all these mutations that potentially comes from alien DNA that are all these really weird out there diseases, creating like large legs, large arms, all these large faces, like large jaws, all kinds of strange diseases that are being described as Founder's Mutation.
Okay.
So these are like the first um, people that would have this thing. So essentially, none of the ones in the show are probably what you would describe as good
Hmm.
mutations. But in all of evolution, there had to be the first, oh, we need 5 toes or 5 fingers or whatever we need. There had to be something that evolved and that grew. So that's kind of what this founder's mutation basis is. So I'm kind of interested to see where this is going to go. I mean, opposed to the critics, I felt that both were pretty good, and I'm hoping that it's getting the ratings. I mean, I haven't seen any numbers yet. I mean, obviously, it's too soon for them to release that, as it is only Wednesday. but I'll be interested to see if people are watching it. I saw a lot of people on Twitter talking about it.
Hmm.
I checked out a couple of the hashtags, and most of the stuff I saw was all positive from the fans. I didn't see a lot of negative
Hate.
stuff, um, which I found interesting. I mean, a lot of times in the nerd or sci-fi genre, that's kind of how it goes. The critics give it a lot of crap, and then the fans may like it. So
Hmm.
that's I think that's kind of where we're at on this.
So I haven't watched it, and I wasn't. My parents watched X Files, but I never
Yeah.
got into it. So
It was probably scary for you as a child. I mean, it's kind of a haunting show. There's a couple episodes that like to this day still scares the crap out of me.
yeah. So out of 10, what would you give the first two episodes to this point?
Um, I think I would give them a good solid 7, 8,
Okay.
somewhere in there, 7.5, we'll say.
Okay. We need to come up with our own like rating
Yeah,
system.
we need a token nerd.
Token nerd. How
You
many tokens
got
would you give it?
you
Three
got
tokens.
7.5 tokens.
Ching. All right. Well, it sounds like it's good. I keep saying I'm gonna start up and try to get into it,
Yeah,
but
it's just a lot to watch. I mean, there was 20, a lot of these seasons had 23, 24 episodes. So, I mean, you got a lot to watch.
yeah. All right. Well, what else you got for us?
Okay, are we skipping into toy news or are we skipping into where we at?
We're into toy. Well, we
'Cause you
should. I'm completely done with my
okay.
news.
Okay, so I do have some toy news. Released today via pre-orders
Hmm.
on Big Bad Toy Store. We saw the next wave of the DC Universe figures. Looks like this wave has 3 figures.
Okay.
One being Green Arrow, or just Arrow, from the TV series, and we also have a Flash from the CW series, and then we have a Joker from the Ender game.
In game.
In game, sorry.
Ender's game. It's
Ender's
like
game.
all of them in suits fighting
Ender's
bugs.
game. But they all look pretty good. I mean, I'm personally interested in the Flash and Arrow. I don't really know anything about the Joker in the series, but they all look good.
Yeah,
And
I actually had the opportunity to look at the figures, not in person, obviously, but the Arrow one looks awesome
yeah,
because that was my favorite costume for the Arrow. The Arrow character he had this leather
yeah,
jacket, and they have that. This is the one that I'm going out to buy.
yeah.
I love the Flash figure because I think that looks great too.
I think the Flash, from what I can tell in the photos, I'm interested to see the texture. Because the costume in the show, he has a lot of like, it's almost like burlap.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than burlap, where it's kind of like cross threads.
yeah.
And it looks like they captured it in the figure. So I'm very interested to see those in person. But if you want to check them out, make sure to head over to Big Bad Toy Store. They have all of them up for pre-order, and they have a ton of other stuff to check out.
Hmm.
So
Oh, well, the one that we didn't talk about, the third figure, was the Joker Endgame. I was disappointed by it. I mean, it looks cool because it's
yep,
just like how Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, drew it and created the character for that story. But his face, his grin, it wasn't as good and as. But I'm comparing it to two figures that are from a live action show where obviously you have a lot more texture
yeah,
compared to one that's from a
yeah.
comic book page,
I
which is very
I
flat.
just personally don't know enough about this Joker
Yeah.
to be really that interested
Yeah. Well, this is the Joker. You read what's it called? Death of the Family.
in it. Yeah.
So this is that same
So
Joker.
he's sewn on face Joker,
Face healed.
face healed. Okay.
Yes, but like we've mentioned before, we keep dropping his name. Benny the Comic Historian. He has the whole in-game storyline on there, along with Death of the Family.
Okay.
So if you have a chance to get on there and catch up, because it's a great story.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
it's how he would.
Did
That's a spoiler, but
Did he read it with all the side story books in it, or is it just straight
it's
through
just
the
the
Batman
straight.
titles? Okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't include the Robin and all that.
Yeah.
But the end game is very much how they said the Death of the Family was a love story by the Joker
Yep.
to Batman. This is him coming at him with hate.
So is this after 0 Year?
It came out after 0 Year. 0 Year was technically the New 52 origin story for Batman.
Okay.
So it was very confusing and very long.
Yeah, it was the whole this coming out of Death of the Family into 0 Year. The whole thing was just confusing. I mean, for me.
For me too.
And
It
that's kind of what started my downslide
Me too.
of reading comics
Sadly,
because I just kind of got confused,
it
overwhelmed.
was confusing, but it was also when Death of the Fam or even
Yeah,
Court of Owls. I mean, I was at the
yeah,
shop every Wednesday,
yep,
excited.
yep.
Death of the Family left me. There was a point where I was scared. I had a
Well, yeah.
nightmare about it. No, there's a scene where the Joker talks about sleeping underneath Commissioner Gordon's bed and listening to him sleep.
Yep.
That freaked me out. And then all of a sudden we hit 0 year, and it was like boom, boom, boom,
Well,
very cool, and then 100 miles an hour, and then just stops.
well, the whole DC universe, once they decide to kill off the little Robin there,
Damien, that was
Damien,
sad.
once they decide to kill him off, it left all the other titles kind of
In shambles.
I wouldn't say in shambles, but it kind of changed their direction. So next thing you know, the Batman and Robin title becomes Batman and insert other Bat
Yeah.
family person, and
But on that topic, there was one. It was Requiem. I almost said Rectum. Batman Rectum.
Batman.
But no, there was an issue of Batman and Robin, and it was all. There were no panels. It was all just art.
Yes, I remember
Oh,
that.
it was so good.
Oh, I mean, they weren't.
They weren't bad, no, but there were some really good ones. But I agree that
But it,
it threw because all the characters had to react. That's the one
yeah,
thing about having
yeah,
a
major
giant
event
universe.
like
Yeah,
that, yeah.
is it shakes everyone.
Well, and then Nightwing took off to Chicago. The whole
The Windy City.
yeah, and it just kind of it. I guess it just all kind of lost me, and that's what started that.
Yeah, same boat. But yeah, so we jumped to comics for some reason out of talk about toys. But yeah, so in general, very excited for these figures to come
Yeah.
out. Technically, after we get done here, I'm getting online to order the Arrow figure.
Ooh.
Yes,
Okay. Other toy news:
get it.
Pac-Man pop figures
Yes,
revealed this week.
they look incredible. Not
Yes.
incredible. I'm sorry. That's me geeking out because I looked at it and I thought, oh, great, they're $70 down the drain.
Well, I've seen a lot of people talking about actually.
Mhm.
I really like the little stands for the ghosts.
Yeah.
I think that works out well because they could have made them like way bigger and they just stood on their own, but then it would look kind of funny with Pac-Man. It kind of makes them look floating. You
Yeah,
know?
I was hoping that Pac-Man would also be on a stand. I know this
Yeah.
is to look more like the
That later game that
Yeah.
had the 3D looking, and he's like standing on the front of it. And he's like giving a thumbs up.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there's
But
one for him and Mrs. Pac-Man.
The Miss Pac-Man lost me. I know. Again, I know it's the later version, but
I thought
I just
she had
want her with
white
the little bow.
gloves.
I just want the little pink bow.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be cool if they were all pixelated, like they're all just blocked. That'd be really cool.
I'm sure it's coming.
The variant is the Hot Topic exclusive, but no.
No. I mean, it'll be like Wave 17 of
Yeah,
Pac-Man.
of Pac-Man.
We'll have literally the same characters across literally the entire history of Pac-Man.
But no, so far, like the red ghost looks a little angry.
Yeah.
We have the blue ghost, which looks very happy. We have the pink ghost, who looks, uh, it's hard to describe. She kind of looks chill. She's in the zone. And then we have the orange ghost, which also looks chill, but it looks like he is a boy. The pink
Yes.
one looks like a girl because she has eyelashes. And then we have the ghost in blue, and that's the one I really want. Now the question is, do I buy Pac-Man and then a bunch of blue ones?
That's what I was getting ready to say. Do you have to buy all the colors and then an equal number of blue ones?
Yeah, well, you'd have to. Like we frequent down in a bar we normally go to, the Hole in the Wall. They always have Mrs. Pac-Man there, and I spend a good part of my night drinking Blue Moon and
Playing Miss Pac-Man?
playing Miss Pac-Man, breaking the high score, which I have done. Okay, but very excited about that. They have also released that in Hot Topic now you can get the Batman Nightmare Batman figure is now in Hot Topic.
So it's now available.
Now available.
So what about all the other figures? Are they not yet? Because I was at the mall and I walked in and asked just to see if they had them for you.
Yeah, I literally would. I've asked the owner. He said, "Oh, they have a Facebook page and a YouTube or a Twitter page, and they post when these figures come out, and they put them in the front window." And they said they like. I went rushing in because they said they had Superman and Aquaman. It's a 10-minute drive from my house to the mall. They told me I missed it by 10 minutes. Or yeah, the drive there. By the time I got there, they had sold out. Granted, there's like 2 in each box.
Yeah. It's probably a packing issue, and I mean, pops are super collectible right now.
Yeah. I'm trying to explain to a new friend of mine the whole theory behind pops, and because when we walk in the stores, and a lot of my friends now, when they'll go to Hot Topic or they go to stores, and they're like, "Oh, I'll buy you one." I'm like, "They're cheap. I can do that. How about this one? Have it. How about this? Have it." And then, but it's getting to the point now where so many people are now getting into it, which is a cool thing. The community is awesome. But it's just hard to find things. Like you almost have to get online to order stuff just so you can have it. Because
Yeah, it's
I have not seen an Aquaman, a Wonder Woman, or a Superman in stores.
yeah. It could just be they're not there yet.
Yeah, it could be that, but like
Yeah,
Superman, I know Superman's out. I just haven't seen. It's just like
yeah,
Ichigo from the
it,
Bleach series. You never see those. You see a ton of
yeah,
Rukia, but never Ichigo.
yep. Um, as far as other nerdy type news, this isn't really a toy. This isn't really anything really. I mean, it's drinkware.
Oh.
Yeah. So at SDCC
Mm-hmm.
last year, you may recall that the company Super Seven created a lot of Masters of the Universe figures. They created these kind of a what if scenario where they took Master of the Universe and they said, what if it had been created by the guys at Kenner instead of the giant muscly figures? What if they were more like Star Wars figures?
Uh-huh.
So to do that, they took over their own store and turned it into Skeletor's Lair,
Ooh.
and you had to have a special token that you had to get from either the Master of the Universe guys or from Super 7 at the con.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went over to the store later in the night, and showed your token, you got in. It's like a little party. Well, at that party, they had Masters of the Universe drinkware. They had cups that had a few of the characters printed on the front of them with the Super 7 logo on the back.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually just got an email today talking about them. So apparently they're going to be online now. And each glass is $10 a piece. They include He-Man, Man-E-Faces, Man-at-Arms, and Triclops, and Merman, and Beastman.
Oh.
Let's see.
And they will be online soon, or they're online now?
They are online now, and they're $10 a piece. And it looks like they actually have a couple more, including Tila, that's coming out as well. So that's kind of a cool way to show your nerddom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just fun stuff, There's so much stuff coming out; it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah, especially as you mentioned C2E2, which is the con that we'll be going to in March.
Yep.
I know there's a lot of stuff that comes out, especially for SDCC and NYCC,
Yep.
but I feel like
C2E2 is really taken off.
yeah, we noticed that when we went 2 or 3 years. Wow, 3 years ago.
Yeah, so the first year that I went was 3 years ago, and it was over on the other side, and it was really comic focused.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was still like a few other things trickling around, but it was very comic focused. I went the next year, and they moved to another side of the convention hall, and it was like twice the size. Like it was huge, and there was stuff from everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just huge.
Yeah, it's when we went, it was fun. Like, 'cause where I'm used to going to, like my first con that I actually started going to was Cincy Expo, which I'm very proud of because when I first went, it was just a floor. It was like you took the escalator up, and it was maybe 12 or 13 vendors, and there was a couple like local artists there. It was nothing, and the next year got a little bigger, and now I think I would say that it rivals OhioCon that happens in October.
Yeah. CincyCon has definitely grown a lot as
Cincy
well.
Expo, Cincy
Cincy
Con is
Expo. Sorry.
iffy.
There's two going on.
Yeah, there's two that come back to back.
They were back-to-back weekends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like, and we'll talk about cons for a second. But like, Cincy Expo happens at the same time as Oktoberfest,
Yeah, which is great.
which is awesome.
And there's usually a Bengals game going on too. So,
Yeah, and then you like when we went last year, we got caught up in a in a radical yelling contest between there were just some protesters there, and it was funny.
protesters of some sort.
Yeah.
But if you happen to be in the Midwest or anywhere really, and you want to travel out to C2E2, it will be taking place March 18th through the 20th, and they've got a ton of guests already out on their website. And they're starting to show the vendors and all those kind of things as well. So you'll want to make sure to check out c2e2.com. Just a lot of really awesome stuff going on there. So if you're anywhere near it, I mean, we're going to make the 5 hour journey, and we're going to go check that out because it's a lot of fun.
Oh, tons of fun.
And it's it's big, but it's not to the point yet where you can't interact with comic artists
Mhm.
or anybody really. It's not that bad yet,
Yeah, like my
and you can
cousin.
walk.
You
You
can, yeah,
can
you can
still
still walk.
walk. It gets busy on Saturday, but you're still able to walk.
And that was my big complaint about SDCC, which my cousin lives down there, and he said, "Oh, come down for it." And yes, I hear that going into the convention center itself is fun, but it's so difficult. Whereas you can
Yeah,
just hang out around there, and there's a lot of stuff going on outside the convention. But with SDCC, you can still go in. It hasn't gotten to the point where you can't
yeah,
interact, and then you don't have to wait in tons of
yeah.
lines.
And I mean, it's to the point where people are sleeping outside.
Yeah,
Like, and I mean, the people that got to go to the Star Wars thing last year, they were there for who knows how many hours. It's to the point where people are like fighting to get exclusives. Like last year for the Star Wars Black New Order Trooper, people were fighting over it and crap. It's
mm,
just it's crazy.
yeah. I'll just throw in a quick con story if you don't mind. I talk about this a lot between the two of us. When we went to C2E2 for the first time was at the same time that this great story called Age of Ultron had come out.
Age of Ultron,
Not the movie, don't get mistaken for that.
the one they stole the title from.
Yeah. So Travis and I are sitting there and we're like, oh, there's a panel about it. Let's go. And I was joking when I
Because we
said a
were
great
keeping
story.
up.
Yeah.
We were keeping up
We were up to
with the
date.
story.
Yeah. And I thought I was excited for it. I bought the Scotty Young exclusive cover because I'm a big fan of Scotty Young. And then I was very let down by the story. I think it sucked. Um, just awful. And
It was just kind of hard to follow.
it was
Again.
so confusing.
Yeah.
But my issue was that we went to this panel solely because we thought other people were gonna be like us and bash on it. And we sat there and everyone's like, this was the greatest story I've ever read in my life. And I looked at Jared's like, what? Are we reading the wrong books?
Yeah, it was just all the time travel stuff and everything kind of hinging on Wolverine, um, which really threw me for a loop when they said they were going to name the second Avengers movie Age
Yeah.
of Ultron.
I was like, no,
Well,
please don't do it.
I mean, I was just so confused because the story hinged on Wolverine. And
But every story, it's like Wolverine is the
wait,
Batman.
yeah. But Marvel Cinematic Universe has no access to Wolverine. So that's why it threw me for this huge loop. So moving on to another topic. In the last episode, we talked about Toy Fair, and I said we would get the dates and whatnot. It takes place from February 13th through February 16th. In order to be an attendee, you need to go out to the toyfairny.com and register. I believe you're going to have to be some sort of insider in order to get in, but maybe not. I don't know enough about that piece, but go check it out if you're interested in checking out the new toys that are going to be coming out in the next year or so. There should be a lot of stuff there revolving around Star Wars Black series, the Master of the Universe series, the new Thundercats series, DC, NECA, the Marvel Select. Lots of awesome stuff usually comes out of this. So if you're a toy person, this is definitely something to check out. But again, if you can't go to New York during that time, you want to make sure to check out Pixel Dan on YouTube. He's going to have lots of stuff because he will be there, I am sure. As far as this week's episode, though, I think we are good.
Yep.
I think that's all we've got to talk about.
I think so. All right. Well, thanks for excuse me. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Let us know down in the comment section down below. Do us a huge favor, hit that like and subscribe button.
Yeah, definitely.
We want to know, do you like what we're doing? If we get more likes, if we get more views, we might we'll know along what process we need to go for
if you
future
have any
videos.
suggestions or anything that you don't like about what we're doing, let us know in the comments. We like to hear.
Yeah. Also, don't forget to tweet at us. We're at I always forget the part. We're at token_nerd, TOKEN_NERD. Same name on Instagram,
Yeah, we
token_nerd.
post some photos,
Yeah.
so make sure to check it out.
We're getting a little bit more consistent.
Yep.
It's become part of the daily routine now.
Yep.
But also, if you want to get in touch with us about news that comes out or things that you want us to talk about,
Yep.
you can always email us at tokennerdpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. And if you just want to say, hey, you want to send us a message, maybe you'll show up on a future episode of Token Nerd.
I would love an episode we can answer fan mail.
I would love to answer some fan mail.
I would too. It's going to be from my mom. You guys are doing such a good job. All right. Well, as always, I'm Anthony Pettiford.
And I'm Travis Lyinks.
Stay spicy, my friends.